They sat and discussed major issues affecting the Turks and Caicos Islands. The national conversation, still in its first week, has received strong support following radio presentations and most recently a public meeting that was held at the Gustavus Sports Center on Providenciales last evening, December 7th. The Sports Center was not filled to capacity but more than expected, according to lead organizer Charlene Cartwright Robinson. A very important issue. The country's economy was top priority at the National Conversation meeting, with an experienced panel, Gordon Carr, Floyd Seymour, Simon Wood, and Royal Robinson, with Drexel Seymour as moderator for the meeting, who in his opening remarks said he believes there are some innovative solutions to turn around TCI's economy to make it more stable. Floyd Seymour, CPA and former leader of the PDM, spoke on how government can raise and use money. He talked about problems with government's revenue and the way moving forward. He said there is a need for better management and a greater need for transparency within the government finances.
Going forward, I think that there's need for greater transparency in government. I think government's budgets and financial statements and all the financial activity of government needs to be publicly available. We ought to be able to go on a government website and see what the government's budget was for last year. We ought to see what government's revenues and expenditures have been for the first couple of months of this year. At the end of the day, the money that the government is spending is money that they've collected from you, the citizens and residents of this country by and large, either from you or for you, from the visitors that come. And so if it's your money, you ought to be able to know how it's being raised and how it's being spent.
He added that there are conflicts of interest and there is need of penalty for these conflicts. Seymour further stated that opportunity should be created for more local ownership of businesses. He said what you want in a society is turnover. Keep the money in the country. Now, Gordon Carr of Mizik and Stanberg, who spoke on the financial services, said overall what we need in the TCI is certainty.
Just as nature kind of abhors a vacuum, business and the private sector and industry abhors uncertainty. And right now there are so many unknown factors to doing business in the Turks and Caicos Islands that it is simply off-putting. If I have a new client call me up next week, the list of typical questions I will get from them will start like this. As a foreigner, I get a business, I understand I need a business license. Is that difficult for me to get? Will I get one? The answer, I don't know. Second question, all right, well, I know I need work permits for foreign workers. Are there people available to do the jobs in the Turks and Caicos Islands? And if not, will I be able to get work permits? I don't know. Assume I invest a couple of $1 million. Can I get a PRC? I don't know. What's the path to obtaining belongership? Is there a path to it? I don't know. I see the Constitution suspended and it's being amended. When will all that be finished? I don't know. Is there going to be any new taxes in the future? I'm sorry, I don't know. The list goes on, and the answer is always the same. And the last question that they always ask is, why on earth would I do business there right now? You know the answer, right? I don't know.
Carr added that residents need to settle on a plan and make tough decisions.
The budget deficit, which I understand that we have right now, can only be addressed in one of two ways. You either cut expenditure or you raise revenue. There's a limit to how far you can cut expenditure.
Now, one of the leading architects in the TCI, Simon Wood, spoke on balanced development, or what he suggests as balanced progression.
Well, my important message to you tonight, this evening, and one which, given my background, might seem a little bit strange, is that this understanding is actually a falsehood. It's not really true. More construction alone does not equate to economic development. More construction alone does not equate to social development. More construction alone does not equate to the positive or progressive development of a nation, of a people. Due to the misuse of this term, when we refer to a developing nation, most people think we refer to a nation under construction. For clarity, tonight I propose that we cease using the word developing in this context and substitute it with the word progressive.
The construction of building or infrastructure is just one ingredient, according to Wood. He said we need to attract the right kind of investors, and we need to rise above all the other competition and be seen.
The best short-term plan, I believe, in this case, is actually to have a long-term plan. We need to think of this nation as a business, as a development, if you like. And as the old adage goes, those who fail to plan to fail.
Some of the goals outlined by Wood were lasting jobs, financial capital, and ongoing revenue. Now former MP and chairman of Development Board Royal Robinson spoke on TC Invest and its role in small businesses. Robinson gave his view on how TC Invest can solve its issues.
Has TC Invest lived up to its full potential and expectation? I'll have to say no. This is my opinion because of financial constraints on one hand and its inability to respond in a timely manner due in part to the ineffective way that various government departments respond to requests for information. This is further compounded by the agency's own tardiness and sometimes lack of focus due in part on cynicism with respect to real prospects of work to complete tasks and what ended up with it bearing dividends.
Robinson said in order to overcome the main structural impediment, he proposed TC Invest use a similar solution like the planning department.
The project proposal completes the form that has the minimum requirements, and this is presented to TC Invest and the political arms simultaneously. Once the political directorate indicates that the project is one that can be supported, then TC Invest engages the potential developer so that all of the due diligence could be completed and the viability of the project ascertained.
Now, at the end of this process, according to Cartwright Robinson, who is lead coordinator of the National Conversation, a document will be compiled and presented to H.E. the Governor, FCO, the chairman of the All-Party Group and TCI Committee, and various UK ministers, including the Minister for the Overseas Territories, Honorable Henry Bellingham. For WIV4 News, I'm Takara Bain.